everyone, welcome back to RTS and welcome back to our 6x6 series SG style, because we are playing along with Allison Davis and her class 6x6 paper pads, and there is a discount below if you want to grab this class and play along with this series. You don't have to have it, but it definitely is fun and it's really inexpensive, but there is a discount below. And then all the links to Scrapbook Generation. Learn about that company, learn about the ladies who run that company, and just enjoy them. Enjoy what they offer, because they put a lot of work into everything. They really do. And so all the links for that is below. So what we're going to do is, if you have this, we're going to be playing with sketch number 6 today, and then we're going to be learning a new concept. Because in the first 3 videos we talked about 6x6 papers, taking them out of the pad and using them as is in all their loveliness. Yes, as is. You just rip it out, do that. So the next concept that Allison is talking about in her class is using them in square form. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. And of course, you can see that in this series, I am not going page by page in this class. There's a lot more in this than what I'm covering, so that's why I suggest getting that. So what we're going to do is we're going to play, and of course here's the photos I have, and we're going to go back to Lancaster, PA, into Amish country. That is our second home, so that's what I'm going to be playing with. So I will talk about that and an alternative to a photo, so hang on for that. Okay, and I think my ears just started ringing. Lord, that is a weird feeling. Okay, so let's get cracking here. If I can, I may be rolling on the floor before too long. You never know what's going to happen around here. Really not. Okay, so let's talk about using our 6x6 papers in a square form, because in reality, what is it? It's just a square piece of paper as is. Okay, so then what Allison is teaching as the next concept is then using it in squares. So if you were to take the 6x6 and cut it in half, of course, you're going to get this right here. You're going to get 2 blocks, right? This is a block, but then if you take this block, which is a 3x6, cut it in half, and you get 3x3 squares, okay? So how many squares would you get out of one 6x6 piece of paper? You would get 4, okay? So right there are 4 options from one piece of 6x6 piece of paper. This is how you can really stretch paper, yes. And I think this class, of course, loving the color scheme on a paper pad. That's what makes me fall in love with a paper pad. The 6x6, this color scheme. It makes me fall in love with it. And once I realized it was a color combination I was drawn to in this smaller size, I had to stop myself and say I didn't need to own every 6x6 paper pad that came out. I had to realize why I was falling in love with this. It was the color schemes. And so I had to learn how to do that on my own. And then also, the patterns are scaled down. So if you get a 12x12 and the pattern is just too much, this is a nice size to work with. And then of course we're going to do it even smaller. So that is the next concept we're going to play with in the next couple videos, is squares. Okay, so how are we going to play with squares? And of course I just cut this up so you can see 4, and we're doing 3x3 squares. 3x3 squares out of one piece of paper. But then what Allison was saying, that as you go smaller, because in the first video, layout 1, we used 1 piece of paper. In layout number 2, we did 2 pieces of paper, and layout 3, we used 3 pieces of paper, okay, in a general sense. So with the concept of going and looking at your 6x6 piece of paper as now smaller squares, you can use more patterns on a piece of paper. And so some people struggle with using a lot of patterns on one layout. This is the way to do it. So let me grab a couple photos here. Okay, so I have some photos. I have a horsey and I have a barn. Yeah, why not? Let's play with a horsey and a barn. And so we're just going to do a 1-page, and then we'll see how it converts to a 2-page. So of course, this is the size that a lot of people do, is 4x6, and of course a lot of people love horizontal, okay? Love that. That poor horsey all by himself. Yes, had to take a picture. So then the concept is these 3x3 squares. What do? Well, oh my goodness gravy. It is so hard. I don't even know how we're going to manage this. How would we even do this? I don't know, but that's how you do it. Yes, you take your 3x3 squares and then you play with them in whatever arrangement you want. Now, this is a simple way to do that. Okay, now let me grab some washi, because I have been playing here. So let me grab washi. Okay, because we're just going to play. I'll grab, what should we play with today? You know, I'm going to go to the wood grain. No, I don't want that one. Like it really matters, Janet. Come on, just play. Okay. So, of course, then, you know, you run up here. You can put your title up here. And you can put your journaling in the blocks. And then, you know, do a visual triangle if you are into that. Not everybody is. Do what you like on your pages. And then, of course, you could play with washi. And you could run your washi to separate your photos and your paper. Or you could put it up here to separate your title and your photos. And then you could also bring it down here. So, just with those 4 little 3x3 squares, and then that is what Allison was saying. You get 4 different patterns, but they're not all in your face, and that is an easy way. If you struggle with using a lot of pattern, cut that 6x6 piece of paper down into smaller squares. And so then, of course, with that, if you were doing a 2-page, you would simply replicate what you were doing on the left. You would replicate, let me move my bowls. You could replicate that on the right, okay? So let's just keep on going with that. Okay, why not? So we have more horsey, and then we have, oh, we have Zimmerman's. If you ever watched the movie Witness with Harrison Ford, that was the telephone booth. Yes, very fun. Okay, so here we have the patterns here on the left. We went floral, purple, yellow, turquoise. So you could do the same thing on the right. And of course, I don't have anything lined up. Just bear with me on that. So we have flowers. Okay, and then we have purple. And then what would we do next? You know, sequencing, what we teach our little ones. And then we just did the same thing. Okay, and of course you would line that up. You know what I mean. I have all this little chunk of paper here. Okay, but then that doesn't mean you have to do it that way. Because then what you could do is, this is what you have here is a mirror image, and this is what you have here. Okay, but what you could do then, would that be a mirror image, or it would be the same? Anyways, what you can do then is reverse this. So then you would go and build your way back out. So now we have the flowers. Oh my Lord, I can't get anything lined up. You can tell my hands are shaky today. I apologize for that. So then what you're going to do then is, let me get this on the right. You're taking turquoise, then the yellow, then the purple, and the flower. So that's 2 different ways, just using 3x3 squares. And then the other thing is, again, what could you do? Rotate. Yes, you could rotate. So that's another option. Of course, you could just pretend these are verticals. But if you want to see that, why not? I have some here. I don't know if I have 4. So then you would just do verticals. Oh, there's ones in a vertical. Okay, I think that's all the verticals I have. And so then, of course, you would play with that. And then, of course, you could shift everything over to this. Okay. You could shift everything over here if you want to do a 1-page, and if you wanted this to be a 1-page. And then if you wanted to do a 2-page with that shifting, what you would do, look at that, the magic of filming. You just rotate that. Of course, my patterns are upside down. You could take everything to the inseam. Okay, now these verticals, yeah, things upside down. But this is how quick it is. It will take me longer to move these photos than to explain playing with these 3x3s. And again, use your washi, use your border stickers, use your ribbon, your lace, your twine, your trim, and have fun with these squares. Now I want to show you something else. That's just 4 3x3 squares on a single, and then converting it to a double if you wish. Okay, now let's play with some more. Because you know I always have options. Yes. Okay, so let's get some more verticals. Or have it horizontal. We'll go back to the horsey in the barn. The horse in the barn. The barn out of the horse. Of course, I don't know, in some parts of the country, the horse out of the barn means something. Yes. Okay, this is a family channel. Move on. Yes. Okay, so let's just do a 1-page using these same photos with what we just talked about. Okay. And you could play around with these, whatever color combination. We could switch it like this, okay? Then what you can do then is do the same thing at the top, okay? Why not surround your photos with even more of that color, okay? And so, of course, you can see that I alternated. There's the flowers, there's the yellow, there's the purple, there's the turquoise, and then, of course, bring your washi here and washi there. And of course, you know, your title, journaling, a little bit of embellishments, and that is how quick it comes together. Using a pattern, you know, 4 patterns from 1 paper pad. Then, of course, you could just do the same thing on the right. Just duplicate that. Okay, so now let's do something else. Okay, so here we have our patterns. Now that was pretty much linear and graphic, right? Okay, let's do something a little different. Let's find a pretty, okay, we'll do Zimmerman's here. Okay, so say if you just have one stellar photo and you want to do something with these 3x3 squares, what do? You do cattywampus method. Yes, cattywampus. Okay, bring this here, the yellow here. It doesn't all have to be linear. It doesn't all have to be lined up. And then you could bring your photo over here. And you could have those peeking from underneath your photo. And then, of course, instead of just doing one photo, look how pretty and simple that is. Now, you could absolutely do them cattywampus. You know, that's the quick way of doing things. But you could also make them linear, but not perfect. You could do this for one 4x6 photo, or if you have 4 wallets. Oh, I have wallets. Hold on to that. You could do that, okay? And that would be a very fast page. Now, along with this, you know I took a 6x6 piece of paper. Absolutely. And then you don't have to use a 6x6 paper with this concept. What would you use? Scraps. We all have them. So you don't have to break out a 6x6 paper pad to learn Allison's concept for this entire class. That's what I'm saying. There's so much to learn in this. It is just, it's amazing. But again, there's 3x3 squares and then you just play with them. Okay, so let's do 2 photos. Oh, here's some vegetables. Okay, so let's play with 2. Now, some things I'm showing is not in the class. Some things are expanded in Allison's class. So you would definitely want to look into that. So there is 2 verticals, and then what I did is that I could come over here, I could overlap these, okay? This is so simple. Title here, journaling here, do a diagonal visual triangle, you know, diagonal embellishments, or you could do a visual triangle. Again, just very quick. I said I was going to get wallets, didn't I? Let's get those. Oh yeah, I have more wallets. Okay, because you know, to do a 1-page layout, you do not have to use just one photo. Okay, so let's see if we can get, let's just see if we can get 9 photos on here. We got some quilts, we got some buggies, we got some homemade root beer. What else we got? We got sight and sound. Let me see if we have one more. Let's just pretend this is a vertical. So there is 9 photos. Okay, I just want you to take a gander. There is 9 photos with 4 little pieces of 3x3 paper. Okay, now tell me that's not quick. It's just, especially on a piece of white cardstock, 9 photos, 4 little 3x3 squares, and then what would you do? You would come over here on the right, and then you would do the same thing. Take those 4 pieces of pattern, lay them up, you know, line them up in the way you want. It could be exactly what you have on the left, but it doesn't have to be. And then 9 more photos. That's 18 photos. You could do a whole trip. You could do a whole birthday. You could do a whole weekend. Yes, in that simple concept of 3x3 squares. So when it comes to this concept of squares in the 3x3 size, I would say the biggest thing is, first of all, if you're not sure and you don't want to break into your paper pad, which is exactly what I did for this video. I didn't want to break into my Simple Life Jen Hadfield just yet. I used some scraps that I had, cut them in that 3x3 size. So you could do that with scraps and then just play around. How do you want to line them up? Okay, you could line them up such as this. Okay, there is no end to the way you could do this. Okay, keep lining them up. Let's move this up. Okay, oh, and there we have a big close-ups. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that, look at that. Now let's play with some more of those 3x3s. You come down here. Well, let me move the photos a minute. Okay, we're okay. Okay, so there's 3x3. Now we're doing that band design. We've talked about that in our go-to designs. Put your photos in the middle. How pretty is that? Or, you know what we could do? Rotate that again. Okay, let's get some more. Come over here. Well, how about we do a 4x6 here? Let's do a 4x6 here. And then we could do a couple wallets. Look at that. Title, journaling, bing, bang, boom, you're done. 3x3 squares. Yes, playing with that initial concept of a 6x6 as is. So think about this now. We've already done it as it is. So now what can you do to it? As is in this 6x6 size, now we can start cutting them down. Okay. Now one thing that is not covered in the class as this size right here, a 3x6. Yeah, you can do a lot with this too. So definitely think about that when you're playing with your squares. Okay, so now what am I going to do? What I'm going to do is, I have no idea, because you can see, look at all the photos I have. I could do several pages of Amish country here. But I do know that I'm going to be playing with that simple life. And I do know that I will be using lots of pattern because I love to do that. Oh, let's just talk about that. Hold the phone. Hold the phone one more minute. Let's talk about one more thing. Now, whatever I'm showing here, you know you could do for a 2-page. But instead of just making this so long, you could just, you understand that. So now let's go ahead and just keep with this idea. Okay. So then you could take these 3x3 squares, and now what are we going to do? We're going to fill the entire background. Okay, what else we got? We got some yellow here. And we got this turquoise here. You could fill your entire background. And again, you could put these very linear. Okay, very linear. Meet those up, but you can tell no matter how many times you cut something, it never matches up. Or you could be very sporadic, very whimsical. Of course, have your patterns going the right way. We don't want upside down hearts or anything. We don't want upside down text. And then this is a great way to use scraps. I just can't say that enough, but you know, with your 6x6 paper pads, sometimes we don't use them enough too. Look how pretty that is. And then, yes, isn't that very pretty? And then along with that, you could absolutely take this to your sewing machine and sew around the whole perimeter. Or what you could do is hand stitching, which is what Allison is known for. Or you could also do some faux stitching, which is that little trick we do with this tracing wheel and the sewing notion and the black ink pad. You could definitely do that. And then also too, stamping around the border. So many options. Okay, now I want to show one more thing. Okay, so as I have this here, now of course you could do this for the left, you could do this for the right, but then another thing what you could do is maybe only do 2 rows. Okay, so as I'm showing this, there's just so many options. I'm not even going to touch them, but with this right here, that would be 8 patterns that you are showing with this 3x3 concept, this 3x3 square. That would be 8 patterns from this pattern, you know, this paper pad, if you wish to. How pretty is that? Just doing 2 rows, okay? So you could do the 1 row, you could do the 2 rows, you could fill the entire background. And then, of course, with this simple 2 rows of 3x3 squares, what can you do? Rotate, rotate, and then rotate, and back home again. Yes, there is just so many things to do. And so when you're playing with these 3x3 squares, what I want you to do is get out some scraps and just play. See what you like. Get out some border stickers, get out some washi, play with that. And then also too, what could you do? Could you add some additional techniques to the outside perimeter? You know, play with your scraps first before you get into your 6x6 pads, and then just play. And then play with your photo orientations. And I will tell you, sometimes when I'm picking something like this for my page, I go with my favorite photos first, and then I play with how I want to do my 3x3 squares. And then one thing I did want to mention when it comes to photos, I'm going to show you here what I'm going to do in just a minute, is that if you are on a trip and you have a photo you want and you can't, you know, you just can't get the photo, and especially in Amish country. Oh, isn't that pretty? Captured. In Amish country, you know, you're really not supposed to take any photos of the Amish people themselves, because they don't believe in photographs, okay? They don't even have mirrors in their home. Depending on which order they belong to, they don't have mirrors because they think that's you're self-reflecting on yourself. That's not what it's supposed to be. And so you're not supposed to, you know, you're not supposed to photograph them. That is the polite, courteous way. You're supposed to respect them and not take photographs of them. Sometimes it happens, but you're not supposed to. So what I wanted to say is, don't forget postcards as an option for your layouts. No, you did not take that photo, but it doesn't matter. It's the representation of that story, of that memory, of that place, that event. So definitely use postcards in place. What I'm saying is don't hold off on a layout because you don't have the photo, because sometimes you can't get the photo when you're going on trips, visiting different places. Always look at the postcards. Sometimes a postcard's cheaper than taking a photo and printing it nowadays. Now that's kind of crazy. Absolutely. Okay, so I wanted to show that option. What am I going to be playing with? I'm going to be playing with Jen Hatfield's Simple Life. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the elements in this collection because I have it. I've been wanting to play with it. Now's the time to do it. I don't want to keep holding off playing with my collection. So I have a couple pieces of wood veneer, and I know that house right there that says Hello Home. That is absolutely going to be on my page because that's exactly what we think about when we visit. We feel at home there. And then, of course, I have some wood veneer thickers, and then I have the chipboard, and then let's just bring it home with the die cuts. So you can see I'm going to be playing with the Jen Hatfield Simple Life collection. And then the only thing I pulled out was my lump and bump in my brown. You know, why not? And then, of course, again with the collection, I'm going to be playing with this Jen Hatfield washi. Absolutely. And then, of course, I had some ribbon because it was just floating around my desk. I was too lazy to put away, so I put it in with this. Why not? Okay, so I am absolutely going to play this afternoon, and I am going to, that's all I'm going to do is just play. And how will I take my 3x3 squares? I'm not sure. How many pages will I do? I'm not sure. But along with this, in Allison's class, because her concepts are so easy to grasp, so easy to do, that you can do more than just a one-page layout. Okay, so hold on, and we will continue to play. All right, I am back with my finished 2-page layout, and I love how it turned out because the sketch, number 6, called for 7 photos, and yours truly got 22. Sign me up. 22 photos on a double page, you just don't get any better than that. And that is what I truly mean, how these sketches and this class as a whole is so adaptable. So for a moment, let's talk about Allison's work, and then we'll talk about this, a little bit of fun, and we're going to talk about foam. Yeah, we're going to talk about foam, so hang on for that very fun conversation. So you can definitely see in sketch number 6, Allison has a sketch that she has allowed for 7 photos, but in the layout sample that she did, she got 9. So she stretched hers even more, and then I really stretched it. So take note of, again, once her beautiful stitching on her 3x3 squares. Notice how she only used 3x3 squares in one location, and that's down at the bottom. And then look how she built the scene, excuse me, on the right. That scene basically takes up the whole top right. And then that scene is basically one embellishment cluster. And then look at the bottom left where she has another little sticker and a word label. That's her second embellishment. And then over on the bottom right, she just has a snowflake and a sticker. Look how all 3 of those components together make up her visual triangle. Very pretty. And then her title basically takes up a good portion of the left page. So it really is photo heavy with a minimal amount of paper, but a huge impact when you put them all together. And then definitely read the details of how she got her 2x2 photos. That is an awesome, ingenious way to use a leftover photo. You must definitely see that. And she also includes details of how she made those Christmas trees. Now that is a 2-for-1. I'm telling you, she's just a talented person. Love her work. Yes, very inspiring. So let's talk about mine. So what I did was, of course, use 3x3 squares. And let me see if I can get this all in frame. Let's hope. All right, let's go. I'm on my 3rd cup of tea. Yeah, we're going to rock and roll, baby. Yes. And someone left me a comment. And it wasn't very kind. So now I got the giggles because every time I think about this comment, I'm thinking, really? Of all the things in life, that's what you want to call me? I mean, like, yeah, bring it on, baby. bring it. Okay, getting back to the program here. So my 3x3 squares, I put at the bottom. And then, of course, above them, I put 4x6 horizontal photos. Easy peasy. That's the sketch. But what I did was I expanded it to fit my style, is that I took more paper, more 3x3 squares in this beautiful Jen Hatfield Simple Life. And if you don't have a 6x6 pad, use whatever paper you have. Just cut it down to 3x3 squares. And then I have about 7 different patterns because that's my style. And so what I did, oh, let me see what Allison did. Okay. She used different patterns too. She got 8 different patterns. I got 7. My favorite was this floral, so I used it twice. So don't be afraid to replicate if you have papers that's your favorite within a pad or a collection. Use it more than once. Why not? You want to see it more than once. And so then, of course, I ran a top up, 3x3 here, photos, and 3x3, and then I gave my layout a starting point and a stopping point. So my washi, which was a Jen Hatfield washi, I just put it at the top, put it at the bottom, and that just gives my layout a place to start and then a place to stop. Just a very easy finishing touch. And I just applied that right over top of my white cardstock. So of course, I want to say about my photos, the horizontal ones, which worked good for me, but you could also do this in a rotate fashion. If you had vertical photos, you just move everything closer, but you would do the same thing. Just use vertical photos, okay? But I lucked out that I had 4 horizontal, and that's what I wanted to use them. These are my favorites, and so this one here, for some reason, was not a 4x6 photo. I don't know how that happens. You get photos printed, they come back, and they're not 4x6. I guess the borrowers ate part of it. I don't know. So I just took a scrap piece of paper and just added a little piece here to the inseam to make it look like a 4x6. And so if you have things that are not matching up, the best way to do that so it's not noticeable is do your not matching parts to the inseam. Let everything kind of match up here on the left, on the outer left and the outer right, because it will be less noticeable if you do all those shortcomings there in the middle, because that's where your inseam of your album is going to be. Yeah, definitely a hack, especially with papers. If something doesn't meet up, do it to the middle. So when I'm doing something like this, when I did my 3x3 squares, I started here and I worked my way in. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so then let's talk about my title. It says Our Second Home. I was going to do hashtag Our Second Home, but I didn't want to do the N and the D, so I just did it this way. Our number 2 home. Just a play on words. And then some die cuts, some chipboards, brads, just playing with embellishments, doing a very simple cluster. And then, of course, here on the right, I just repeated that. Whatever I had on the left, I had a circular element on the left, I added it to the right. And this wood veneer also acts as a subtitle because it says, home is not a place, it is a feeling. How true is that? But then also, too, it brings in that same element from the left to the right, acts as a subtitle. Again, the same embellishments I used on the left, I just replicated here on the right. And then if you notice at the top, Allison always does hand stitching. I wanted some stitching on here, but I wasn't up for hand stitching because I wanted to work on these photos, and we'll talk about that. So I simply did some faux stitching using a tracing wheel from the Sewing Notion. This was, for patterns in this sewing department, and then I used a black ink pad, and my favorite black is India Ink Black by Hero Arts. Very pretty. And then, of course, using a ruler, and I just ran several lines back and forth because this tracing wheel will only hold so much ink till it runs out. And I will have a video listed below where I have a little mini tutorial at the end of that video. You can simply watch if you want to see how to do that faux stitching. It's really, really very simple. But I wanted to show something that you could get at the Dollar Tree if you don't have a Tim Holtz mat, or you want to protect your surface, and it would be this construction pad. It's $1 for, what size is it? 18 by 12. And so it's just this, cheap, it's not even construction paper. It's just, what kind of paper? It's just paper, art pad. And so that is what I put down if I want something quick, like I was doing that faux stitching. I just ripped one of those out. That way I'm protecting my surface, but yet at the same time, I don't have to clean a Tim Holtz mat or anything like that, because, you will get some leftover ink on it, and then I just throw it away. So that is a good way, inexpensive way, 30 sheets in that dollar pad, that you find at the Dollar Tree. And so I wanted to show that, but I will have a video listed below that shows more. And so all I did on whatever that faux stitching here, I think I ran about 5-6 lines. I did the same thing on the right. So it gives me that little bit of a look of stitching, but I didn't have to spend the time invested in doing some stitching. So now let's talk about down here at the bottom where I got 16 photos. No, 16, 17, 18. 18 of these smaller photos. And sometimes what I did was I just used a 4x6 and I used a hexagon punch. Okay, we'll talk about this for a minute. And then sometimes I used my wallet. So whatever I just wanted a small image of. And I will have the close-ups at the end. And you can see that they are detailed shots of different things in Lancaster that makes us feel like our second home. Yes, some were wallets, and some If I just find a little something in a 4x6, I would just use my punch. And so, you know, I'm talking about mood and feel all the time. Of course, you know, all I do here is talk. Some people don't like that, believe it or not. If you don't like talky videos, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to definitely disappoint you. Just head on over to somebody else. But if you don't talk, how do you learn? Yeah, absolutely. So in the Amish culture, you will see a lot of hex signs, hexagon signs, things like that. That is part of the Pennsylvania Dutch culture. And so that is why I simply use this hexagon punch, because it goes along with the Amish culture. So this shape is a simple hexagon shape, but it means something in the Pennsylvania Dutch history. And so that's why I wanted these photos in that hexagon shape. Now, to make a long story short, I only have 3 sizes of hexagons, small, medium, large. These are by Fiskars. You can still get them. One of my favorite sets. And so this small is too small for anything, so I scrapped that. So I did my photos in the medium size, but yet I wanted a matte. Now, how was I going to do that? So what I simply did was I took a photo and I used this medium. And so if you have a punch and you want to get a photo and you can't get to it, what do? You simply trim some of your photo off, so your punch will reach. Okay. Now, we have some new scrapbookers here. So this is why I show things, because I get questions. Okay. So that's the talk. Absolutely. So then you punch. Okay. Now look how that shot, I now have a detailed shot. Oh, love that. I love detailed shots. Okay. So then I wanted a matte. So my next size punch, well, let me get the right one. My next size punch is this. This right here. That's the large one. So if I were to take that second hexagon and I put it on here, well, that matte's too big. So what I simply did was I punched my photo with that medium hexagon and I adhered it right to the big one. So then what I did, I absolutely glued it down so that way it wouldn't shift. And then I took my scissors and I trimmed the whole way around. Okay? I wasn't particular. You just find the middle and give it a haircut. So basically what I did by cutting this down is I made my own size hexagon mat simply with a pair of scissors. So there was my mat, because I didn't have a size in between these two. So that's how you can do your punches. If you don't have a size in between, make it. Make it your own. And then, of course, I took this brown craft paper, and then that was my final mat with this bigger punch. So that's how it looks like I have 3 different sizes of punches right here. Okay, the photo, the matte, and then the brown. No, that white mat, I made my own, just cutting it down, because I just didn't have that size, and that's what I really wanted, because my photos have so much color. So in order to make these pop out, because they're small, I wanted them on white so they would pop out and stand out, because that's what I wanted. I wanted these rows of photos. So I wanted to show that. So when you want a middle size, just give it a haircut. Yeah, that's all I simply did, because this is what I wanted. So you can see that I took 8 photos here on the left, 8 photos here on the right, and then every sporadic, every so often, this one, and this one, those are on foam tape. And then over here, I have 3 on foam tape. The rest are just glued down to the paper. So I love how this row of photos, 16. And then, of course, what did I do? I expanded it up here, added 2 more. Love that. You can absolutely use small photos as part of an embellishment clusters. Don't forget that. So now let's talk about foam, because why not? I thought maybe for a minute I had that upside down. Have you ever done a layout and then you looked at it and you had a photo upside down? I've done that more than once over 23 years. Okay, so on some of these photos, I have them adhere with foam tape. And so when you're buying foam tape, you can get expensive and you can go cheap. So this is by Scotch. It's about maybe $6.50 a roll now. But you can also find it at the Dollar Tree. This was $1. This is around $6. So you can save money by getting foam tape at the Dollar Tree, or you can use craft foam. I don't have luck adhering that. I always like with adhesive on it. But I want to tell you that also too, when you're buying foam tape, look at how thick it is, because some people don't like thick foam tape. Some people do. It's what you want. So this Scotch is quite thin compared to what I got at the Dollar Tree. So you can see this is thin. This is getting a tad thicker. And then look at these foam squares. Okay, these are just squares. This is continuous roll. This is a square. I don't know if I can show that, but look how thick that is. So when you're getting foam tape, not just look at the bargain, but then also look to how thick it is, because if you like the thin, you may not want to go with some of these thicker ones, because I always look at it this way. If I want something thick, I'll just add 2 pieces to get to this. But this came from the Dollar Tree too. Look at all that. For $1 for all them foam squares. Sometimes look in the hardware department. Yes, for years I used to get it at Big Lots, and it was in the hardware department too. Why they're in the hardware department, I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about in this photo strip here, what did I use for this craft paper? Okay, because not only is this a trip, you know, our second home, but I also used some memorabilia. And where's the memorabilia? It is that brown craft paper, because what I did is I used a paper sack that I got on this trip for some paper. That's exactly what I did. Now, I want to give you a tip about this, because you know me, I'm always talking. Go to the FFO if it's too much talk for you. That's always an option. So what you can do is, if you have a piece of paper, and I'm trying to find something here, and I don't have something. Yes, I should have something. Is that this is a thin piece of paper. Why? Because it's a paper sack. So if you go to punch this, I'm just going to show you what happens. It doesn't punch. That's the problem, okay? Now I got to get that unstuck. Yeah. Not only did it not punch, it's stuck, okay? So I'm going to show you how to fix that. Now I usually pound that on the table, but that wouldn't work. It would not work. So what you could do is that you simply could take a piece of paper, and I just use a scrap, okay? So you would want to put this scrap underneath your paper sack or anything that's memorabilia and it's thin. You just give it a backer. So I just use a leftover piece of paper, and then you punch. See how that works? Now, just use a scrap, because it's, well, if you want to use it, you can. So that is how you take a very thin piece of paper and use a punch where it keeps getting stuck or it just doesn't punch. Put a cardstock backer behind it and then punch them both at one time. And that's how you do that little bit of a hack. I don't know who ever taught me that, but I tell you what, it works every time. So each one of these 18 photos, that craft mat was part of the paper sack that I got at a gift shop on that trip. Isn't that fun? Using a piece of memorabilia on a trip. Love that. Because I don't know where I would use this sack, but I knew I didn't want to get rid of it. So there, now it's on there. So I'll just throw that rest of my scrap file and use it somewhere. So that is how that landed. Very fun. Again, the sketch called for 7. I got 22. You just can't beat that. Now, some people don't like small photos. That's okay. You can come down here. If this is too small, you could still use wallet. They wouldn't have to be that size. Or maybe what you could do is cut some of your 4x6 down, cut them into 2x2s, 3x3s, things like that. You don't always have to use 4x6 for everything. And then here's what I do. If I have something represented in a 4x6 photo, I try to make sure that I have other things represented in my other photos, because this is a focal. This is a focal photo. This is focal photos. So I have this, I have the horsies covered. I got the barns covered. I got the buggies covered. I got Zimmermans covered. So I didn't have to worry about having other photos to represent those unless you want to. Absolutely. So to finish up and wrap up this layout for today, I wanted to talk about journaling. So where will my journaling go? My journaling's going to go up here, and I'm simply going to type it up on white cardstock, and then I'm going to mat it with this same paper sack paper, because then that just brings whatever I did here up there, so it looks like it was on purpose. So I'm never a shortage of words, so journaling is never a struggle for me. It's just doing it is a struggle for me, because it does take a different part of the brain to create versus the journaling part. It takes 2 different parts of the brain. And so it's okay if you just scrapbook some pages for a while and then you just journal for a while, because that is that's just the way our brain is wired. So then if you are someone that doesn't words don't come easily to you when you're doing a trip or a big event, you know, you can simply just do a list of what you did and who you saw and things like that. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. Just do like a bullet list. You know how you took notes in college or high school? It's the same way. Just do a running list. And then the other thing is that you simply can just use adjectives. They don't even have to be phrases. They don't even have to be where you go. You simply can just use adjectives. And then if you also need more help, ask the people who went with you on the trip. Ask your family. family. What did you think of this? What did you think about? What was the one highlight that you really enjoyed? What was the one thing you remember? And then incorporate their thoughts into your journaling. I do that all the time with my little one. Sometimes I just ask her to write it for me because that's what she loves to do. She loves to write. And so for my hubby, what I'll do is I'll say, what do you remember the most about this trip? Or what did you think? And I will incorporate his thoughts into my journaling as well. So that's another option. So journaling does not have to be a struggle, but I will say when it comes to scrapbooking, the one thing I think every layout needs is the date. Even if you simply use a ruler date stamp or you just write in the year, it doesn't have to be a complete date. No, just as long as you get that year on there, because we think we're going to remember, we simply can't. We honestly can't. And so I wanted to show one more thing, is that I have another giveaway. Yes, I do. Because we traveled, we went on a journey. That's what I have for a paper pad. I have My Mind's Eye, Follow Your Heart, and you can do a lot of different layouts with this paper pad. Very pretty, very good quality My Mind's Eye. And then I have the stamp set to go with it. And of course, what does it say? Enjoy the journey. And there you have that globe. You can go on your own journey. And then I also have an embossing folder with that same globe. Very pretty, and it has a floral design within the globe. There it is. Very, very pretty. So this could be yours if you get your name into the drawing. Be 18, be a subscriber, be anybody in the world that just enjoys this hobby of scrapbooking, and leave one comment below, and I'll get that in. I'll get your name into the drawing. Yes, very, very fun. I just had to do another giveaway. And so what will we be doing in the next layout and video? Now, these videos will be spaced a couple of different days apart. Not sure how it's going to work. We may even have to go into November because I got another trip landed in my lap. So I have two within this series. It's a little hard to juggle when you're traveling, but I always make room for scrapbooking sometime. Yeah, we are going to be working with sketch number 5 in Allison's class, so definitely get that out, look at it, review it, read her notes, and look at all her details. Beautiful work. And then if you want this companion by your side to keep, to keep the creative juices flowing in between videos, you can also work on other layouts in between what we show here on the channel. You can look below, there's a discount, grab it. Absolutely, because that discount's only good for a certain amount of time. So thank you Scrapbook Generations for that discount, and also to thanking them for allowing us to showcase this class on the channel. Not a lot of companies would have allowed that, so very, very appreciative. So that's all I have for today. Come back to RTS because you never know what we're gonna do. Bye.